Sarah Beckman, and today I'm going to teach you how to use the spectrophotometer. So to begin, we set up two of our testing tanks, and 1,000 microliters of ETOH was pipetted into the left column of each tank. The tank sat for 25 minutes, and then 2 milliliter samples were taken from the left, middle, and right of the tops of the tanks, and the left, middle, and right of the bottom, and then from inside each of the two columns. Using 50 milliliter Falcon tubes, standard solutions were made in order to create a linear regression line. The standards used for the spectrophotometer consisted of 5 milliliters of 0.25 molar potassium dichromate, 50 microliters of silver nitrate, and 5 milliliters of 6 molar sulfuric acid, and an amount of ETOH depending on the concentration of the solution. 0.25, 0.5, and 1% ETOH standards were used, and absorbance was measured on the spectrophotometer. In order to create the 0% ETOH solution, 1,000 microliters of distilled H2O was added into the standard solution of 5 milliliters of potassium dichromate, 50 microliters of silver nitrate, and 5 milliliters of sulfuric acid. For the 0.25% ETOH solution, 25 microliters of ETOH and 975 microliters of distilled water were added to that standard solution. For the 0.5% alcohol solution, 50 microliters of ETOH and 950 microliters of distilled H2O were used, and for the 1% ETOH, 100 microliters of ETOH and 900 microliters of distilled H2O were used. After the ETOH and distilled H2O were added to the standards, 39 milliliters of water was added to each of the solutions, making each solution 50 milliliters, which would fill one Falcon tube. The spectrophotometer was set on the Spectronic 200 at 560 nanometers. The absorbance was measured. So when you go into the spectrophotometer, it gives you the option to add standards. So you're going to say you're going to use 4 standards. Then you enter the alcohol concentration of the standard there. Place 2,000 microliters of that in the cuvette. Place the cuvette into the machine and press enter, and it will read the absorbance. Then it will plot that point, and you do the same thing with the other standards, and that will create a linear regression line. So when you're trying to find the concentration of the unknown ETOH sample, you take the same 5 milliliters of potassium dichromate, 50 microliters of silver nitrate, and 5 milliliters of sulfuric acid, and add 1,000 microliters of the unknown ETOH sample. The cuvettes are filled with 2,000 microliters of the given solution and placed in the spectrophotometer on the same settings. The absorbance of each of the unknown samples is compared to the absorbance of the standard using the linear regression in order to determine the concentration of alcohol in the sample. The linear regression can be saved to a USB flash drive, but be sure to record the points in your lab notebook. When running the spectrophotometer, be sure to use either all frozen samples or all liquid samples in order to be consistent and make sure you don't get a false result. Be sure to use 50 milliliter Falcon tubes and do not use beakers because they can contaminate your solution and will show a false concentration of water. Make sure that everything is as sterile as possible so that your results are as normal as possible.